to share my story with you because recently I have been scammed without really a fault on my end, really. And just sharing this story so that you can protect yourself. So what happened is I've got two companies in London, and they were registered on my name. And the registered office address, I changed the registered office address to my accountant's address. Now, the accountant's office is in the number 1 Canada Square, which is the tallest building in Canary Wharf. It's an iconic building. So, you know, the building that has got a pyramid kind of shape at the top, that building. So this building is a massive building. It's almost like a town on its own. So if anybody operate from that address, the address needs to, their postal address needs to have the company name, then the unit number, and the floor, which floor the unit is on, and these sort of details. Now, some scammers figured this out, and they realized that if you skip the unit number from this particular address, what happens is it still looks like a valid address. If you put that address in a address validator kind of mechanism, some sort, that will come up as a valid address, whereas actually it may not be. So in my case, what happens is my business's address basically became my company's name at the top, and then care of my accountant's business name, and then the unit number, and then the next bit of the address was number 1 Canada Square. So and the postcode. So somebody, the scammers, what they did is they approached DHL, the shipping company, and they wanted to open a credit account with DHL using my company's name. And from the company's house details, if you look into that, obviously it had the address properly, correctly. That means I had my company's name, care of my accountant's business name, and then the unit number, and then the actual property address. What they did is they took the full address, they kept the company name, they removed the accountant's name and the unit number, and basically came up with the my company name and the property address with that. It looked valid, and they got an postpaid credit account basically with DHL. And I think somebody in DHL was involved in the process. This is my thought, and here are my reasons. Because when DHL is a delivery company, right? They do parcels, so they understand. They have pretty good idea about these addresses. So if it's a massive building, multi-story building, they should immediately know that a unit number is important for that particular address. And being the iconic address it is, number 1 Canada Square, DHL should have immediately picked up that the company name and it needs a unit number, which was missing in the address, but they didn't do that. I don't know why. And then the second thing that they did is, because my company is a really, the particular company I'm talking about, it is a really small home-based business. So I was doing things from home, and to pay the taxes properly and declare my income properly, I basically registered that company. So in the company's house records, I had all my previous year's transaction details, profit and loss. And if you look at those numbers or those documents, there was no way DHL would have actually approved a credit account for my business. But looks like they approved it. And to make things worse, they approved it for international parcel pickup and delivery service. So, I mean, legitimate businesses in London, they struggle to get a DHL's account to do to deliver things, to send their products from their premises to addresses in the mainland UK. They struggle to get those sort of accounts. And this, in this particular case, DHL actually approved an account that was to be the parcels were to be picked up from one country and delivered to another country, and none of these countries are UK. So it was a crazy kind of arrangement. And then, to make things worse, I mean, this is the third worst thing, they didn't have a cap, spending cap on this account. So that means the account holder could spend as much as they want. So, and these are the three reasons why I think there was somebody inside DHL who facilitated the approval of this account. So then what happened is these scammers, they got hold of the account. DHL did send letters thinking that they were sending it to my business because they were saying company name and number 1 Canada Square. Now, excuse me, because my company was not a direct tenant of number 1 Canada Square. It was a care of address from to my accountant's business. Nobody knew where to send these letters to. So all the mail communication that DHL sent, I didn't get them. They didn't get delivered properly. But at the same time, they got delivered. Why? Because the postman came to number 1 Canada Square and delivered the letter to the post room, because in this sort of businesses, in this sort of buildings, they have got a dedicated team that delivers the letters they receive every day. So from a external postal delivery system, like if somebody sends a letter to that address, my company name and number 1 Canada Square, the letter will be delivered to number 1 Canada Square authority. But then the authority will not be able to deliver to my company because they will look into their records and my company name doesn't exist there. So that way, DHL people, when they sent letters, to them it appeared the letter was delivered to the number 1 Canada Square, and it couldn't get anywhere from that point. So that means, as a director of the company, I was in darkness. I didn't know that all these things were happening. My accountant didn't get to know, and the scammers, they got the account and they started using the account. They got parcels picked up from one address in India and delivered to multiple addresses in Canada. So, and it was a few hundred parcels they shipped over a 2 months period of time. And obviously, within this 2 months' time, the total bill for the service was about 94,000 pounds sterlings, 94,591 pounds sterling. That was a massive amount. At this point, obviously, because it's 2 months and the invoices were supposed to be paid every week, and the first invoice that was issued that didn't get paid within these 2 months. So that's when DHL's credit control department, they stopped the account. But by then, that was a huge amount of bill that they already used DHL's service for. So then these scammers, they disappeared. And their phone number was not my phone number. Their email address was not my email address. The address was wrong. I didn't get to know anything. My company didn't get any kind of notification. But the scammers did their scam and then they disappeared. DHL at that point, because nobody was responding to the emails, the letters that they were sending. Obviously, they were sending it to a wrong address, so nobody was responding to them. So they took my company to the court. And when they took my company to the court, because they filed a complaint to shut down my company, so they took my company to the court. And in this time, they actually went to the company's house and got the company's complete address from there. So then they filed the case, the complaint against my company. This time they had the proper, correct address, because this time they used my company name and then my accountant's business name and then the unit number and then the rest of the property address, number 1 Canada Square. So this time I got the letter from the court. It was the Manchester family, and it's called the I forgot the full name of the court. It's a civil court, basically. So they sent me a letter, and that was the first time I got to know that something like this has happened. So my first reaction obviously was I was shocked, and looking at the amount, £94,591. I mean, even if I sell myself, I was not going to. I'm not worth that much. So I got totally shocked. And the other thing to make things more interesting is I was actually, during this whole time, I was away. I was not in the UK. I was away. And so when I received the letter from my accountant, I was shocked. My accountant was shocked. And he was like, when did you do all these things? And I said, I haven't done anything. I just don't know about these things. So obviously, the first attempt was to verify that the letter is a genuine letter, because initially I thought it was a scam of some sort. So I wrote back to the Manchester, the Family and Property Court, and gave them the reference number and asked them if is this a genuine case. And they said, yes, it is. And I thought, oh, no. That means the document is not invalid. So immediately the party, the solicitor who filed this complaint, DHL's solicitor, I contacted them and I told them that this is the situation. I didn't have any clue about what was going on. So can you give me some details of why are you taking my company to court? So they gave me some copies of the invoices. And in the invoices, it's the same thing. It's my company name and number 1 Canada Square, which is the wrong address. So I told them, see, this address is wrong. And I was not in the UK. The phone number is wrong. So it's not me who used your services. You were scammed. So can you withdraw the case and speak to the police, basically, to find out who actually did it, because there was a phone number and there must have been some kind of validation, verification that took place from DHL's part before approving this account, right? I mean, that should be at least expected. And so I told them that, and the only response was, please seek legal advice and we'll see you in court. So over 2 months, I kept on talking to them, and that was basically their response. And so then I decided to come back to the UK quickly. I had some other things to do as well. So I came back to UK, and then I said, I'm going to challenge you guys, and I'm going to see you in the court. And the day before we were meant to be in the court, so I had to travel from London to Manchester, stay there overnight in a paid accommodation day, go to the court and do all those things, spending from my pocket. And just before going there, because you never know how things are going to turn up, I spoke to a solicitor and I had to pay him. And solicitors' bills are crazy. I mean, it costed me about £750, something like that. So I had to pay this money, and then I went to the court. Now, one day before going to the court, DHL's solicitor, they said that they're going to withdraw the case, and when we go to the court. Now, by then, I've already spent the money. So I told them, but I've already spent the money, I have spent the time and all these things. Their answer was, okay, we cannot take any responsibility for that, because we just told you that we are going to withdraw the case. So that's what they did when I went to the court. That's what they did. And the judge, it didn't feel like the judge actually read the details of the case. So the answers that I sent to them, because the initial date of the hearing was in November, 1st of November, but I couldn't, because I was not in the UK, I couldn't be present on that day. So I wrote to the court. I gave them all my arguments, all my evidences, and then wrote to them that I cannot be on this date. If you want to go ahead, then we have to have a arrangement for online participation, like Zoom-based participations. And they said, no, we cannot do that. So they changed the date to a date in December. So so by then, I actually sent all these documents to the solicitor and to the court. But looks like no, in December, 13th December, and I was in the UK. 7th or 8th of December, because there were a couple of off days. Weekend was in the middle. 7th or 8th, that's when DHL's lawyer told me that they are going to withdraw the case. And yeah, we expect, or we sometimes, when you are in this sort of situation and you have never been through this, I couldn't really trust them. Even the solicitors, I couldn't really trust them, because if they come up with some argument, some kind of reason why they should push forward in the last second, they can change their mind. So that's why I had to seek advice from a solicitor and spend those money. So after doing all this, finally they said, we're withdrawing the case. And the judge said, yeah, because you were told that they were going to withdraw the case, why did you seek advice from a solicitor? If you did it, it's on you. So I got nothing. So the money that I spent was just loss. It was crazy. So then they would do the case. That means my company is not in trouble anymore with for this particular problem. But the thing is, obviously, I lost money without any fault of my own. And the reason it was possible for these scammers to scam in this way is because I registered the registered address of my company was to my accountant's address. If it was a small building where the letters are normally picked up by people themselves, my accountant would have probably picked it up from the name of the company, looking at the name of the company. But because it was a massive building, he was never going to. If a company's address is registered to some other business as a care of address, try to scam somebody else and put the company in trouble finally. So yeah, so that was my terrible experience, really. And so I'm making this video so that if any of you, because it's a common practice that businesses have their registered office address registered to their accountant. So if any of you have a business that is registered to your accountant who is in a massive building like this, probably it's a good idea that you change your business. It will be delivered directly, and you will have access to those the letters, because otherwise the scammers can use your company detail to scam others, and finally you will be in difficulty. You will be in trouble, because obviously the scammed party will then try to recover, take you to court. So hope you can understand what my problem was, and hope you can understand why we need to be, as directors of businesses, why you need to be careful about these things. And given that this sort of accounts get approved by bigger organizations like DHL, it's really sad. I mean, I don't know what else I could do. Obviously, it was really their negligence and or probably, as I said to start with, probably there is somebody who is working for DHL and who approves, one person or a group probably, who approves this sort of account applications without looking at the history of the company. And finally, DHL ends up losing out. And these companies, they just put us in trouble for no reason. It's really, really frustrating. And obviously, 700-800 pounds, and including my travel cost and everything, it was yeah, nearly £1,000. I just lost it for no reason. And the amount of stress that I went through over the last those couple of months, the amount of research I had to do, that was not going to be paid for by DHL, or I couldn't claim anything against that. So just sharing my story so that you guys can protect yourselves and don't go through a similar experience as I did. So anyway, that was the reason of recording this video today. If you find it useful, please share with your friends or people that you know who have businesses, who probably have their companies registered to similar sort of accountant's office. Please share it with them so that they can do the at least try a little bit to protect themselves against this sort of scams. So with that, I'll end it here. I'll see you later. Take care, guys. Bye bye.